kind of about their goals. And I really need to take the time out in the next day or two to message everybody else. It's just pretty much like 10 of my 11 builders are like brand new. And so it's
not a lot to do.
Yeah.
So do you brainstorm about kind of how to train them in groups and, you know, do some one-on-one, but do some group stuff? Is that something that you're taught to do or encouraged to do or anything like that? Shoot, if you can hear me, I can't hear you. I'm not sure what's going on this morning. Does it keep kicking you off, hon?
Yeah, it does.
Well, I don't usually have this problem. I wonder what's going on.
Yeah, usually it's fine. Maybe if I go move this downstairs, it'll.
Okay. Does your internet connection seem to be better down there?
I don't know. I guess I'll try it out and see. Hopefully it is. Switched over to the new internet and it's supposed to be really fast.
You know what? Call the company and I had a problem with the internet the other day and my husband called on it for me and they ran a test on it and it was like running at a 10 and it was just be running at a 24. And so they sent someone out and some of their lines that connect to my house, you know, so it wasn't anything I could do about. Some of them were bad, and so they replaced some of those, and now it's supposed to be running like at a 20, but it still should run at a 24. Anyway, you might want to call and have them run a test, just because I wondered why I was paying for, you know, this so much for it, and yet I still wouldn't always have Netflix just run really smooth, and I thought things would go so much faster than they were, and
Yeah.
you know, my calls were a little better. But still there were things that I was surprised weren't a little smoother.
Okay.
All right. Well, I don't know where my caller went, where everybody is this morning. So you'll get all the information. Did you happen
Awesome.
to print off the worksheets?
I haven't been able to. I can try and print them off right now.
Okay, that's fine. Or if you just have something to write on, I can tell you, like, I mean, my goal is to have people, like, actually have something done by the end of the hour. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of put some mental work into it. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the team goals. So you probably haven't tried that little, and now I put 3-step follow up and I actually put 4 steps. I probably should rename that. um, but that give them a challenge, ask them their comfort level, find out when they can actually do it, and have them put it on their calendar and then follow up. So I'm guessing that's something you haven't been able to try because you haven't been in town. But hopefully you can, this will actually help with some ideas on that too of who you might want to do some of these things with. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any questions about that system though?
I don't think so.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So do you recall us talking about motivational styles, Jordan?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I want to help you with today is understanding your team's motivational styles
Mhm.
and how we talk to them, what we say, what we don't say, what we ask, how we use that as a tool to help them self motivate and help us be an assistant motivator. Okay. So let me give you an example and a story if I haven't already told you this. There's a gal that I work with and she's amazing. She's writing a book and it's for teens and I think it's kind of like a fantasy kind of thing that helps teens learn good principles. You know, I mean, I think it's something kind of like Narnia or Percy Jackson or something like that. It's fantasy and it's for teens. And she's told me that people who have read her book are just really excited about it and feel like there's a lot of value in it. Now, it was fun when I was talking to her. She's very, very self aware. She's pretty wise. And she was telling me, she says, the thing I have to tell you though is that I am terrified of success. I'm not interested in a ton of money, and I definitely am not looking forward to, you know, if it does go out big, having interviews, being, you know, quote unquote, well known or famous. These kind of things are very uncomfortable for her. And so I asked her, then, you know, why are you doing this? Well, first of all, she loves to write, okay, and she has these amazing stories in her head, and I think she has several other ideas. And you know, this is her first start, and she's going to self-publish this book, and she's got some great help from some amazing people who are supporting her. And the other reason is she really loves to help and bless youth and just inspire them to do good things. And that is her main reason for doing this is how she's going to help youth. So, you know, when you think about these 3 questions, there was, is it more motivating money and titles or changing the world? Which clearly she's a changing the world person. Do you like to work in a group or on your own? And luckily, she works on her own really well because she just has tons of work she has to do independently, whether it's editing her book or whatever it might be, her promotional stuff she does online. She's incredibly disciplined and focused and works really well on her own. The other thing is that she prefers variety or consistency. And she has a writing mentor who's helped her figure out how much of your time you spend editing and working on writing, how much you spend on promoting and doing blogs and um, social media and those kind of things. And so she I think she actually kind of likes consistency, but she's figured out how to be consistent about those different actions. So it's really fun to see her style. So it was really kind of funny because when she first decided to work with me, she'd messaged me and said, "Yeah, I'm on. I want to do this." And I said, "Great." And I messaged her back and I said, "You're going to bless so many youth's lives. You're really going to be a huge help to so many people." And she messaged me right back. She goes, "Okay, as soon as I told you I was ready to do your training, all of a sudden my heart started pounding and I was so nervous and was worried. And you messaged me back and brought me back to my why, that I was going to help youth and now I'm okay again. And if I had messaged her and said, I am so excited, you're going to make so much money, it would have shut her down even more. It would not have calmed her heart, because that's not what she's interested in. She doesn't want to recoup her costs. I mean, she's had editors and people that have made her cover, and mentors and stuff. So she's put money out for this. And so, of course, her husband wants to see that, they at least break even. But she's definitely not interested in fame and fortune. It's the secondary reason for doing this. And so what's really interesting about this is you've got this really great product that really helps people in so many different ways. And I see your passion, Jordan, with the product and how much you care about helping other people. And yet at the same time, you have a certain amount of motivation with making some money and being successful and giving your family opportunities. And so you can see those two pieces. And I'm actually not sure. I think you're more money in titles, if I remember right. But you're a pretty happy medium, because you really are passionate about the product. But if you can see, if someone just really, really cares about the product and they don't seem to be motivated by money, needing money doesn't mean, just because you need money doesn't mean you're motivated by money. I hope that makes sense. That someone can need money desperately, and yet still that's not why they're motivated to do things. They might get to a breaking point and just do it anyway, but it's not why they continue to do things. So sorry. Whereas if someone is motivated by changing the world, that's what you need to help your team members set goals based on. So if you have a team member who just loves the product, I mean, absolutely swears by it, it's changed her life or changed her children's life or her husband or whatever it is her thoughts are on it, or him, you've got to make sure that you encourage them to set their goals. So if they are entitled to money, you're setting goals on how much they're making on the title they're going to get with your company, those kind of things. If they're change the world, what I would suggest you do is help them set a goal as to how many people they're going to help. And based on that, you can also add in there, hey, how much money would be helpful to you? Let's say they want to give you a car, there's something that they're needing. And they set that kind of goal, but then the real goal they're focusing on is how many people. Like, if they sign up 10 people, that's going to give them $500. I mean, these numbers may not make sense, but that's going to be their car payment and whatever it is. So you've got to really focus on matching those two and helping you be 100% focused on how they can help people. Now, the other thing is true if it's like a group, if they like to work in a group versus one-on-one, giving them opportunities to come together as a group. Like even a gal that I know, you work with, Sarah. For some reason, she loves group things. She comes to these group trainings, and yet there's this part of her that has different motivations for why she's doing things. And there's those people who love group things. And you'll put on, I see people put on team meetings and then get frustrated that not everyone comes. Well, the thing is, the person who likes to work one-on-one just isn't always motivated by coming to a team meeting. So that's where you give them a quick phone call, see what their goals are, what they're working on, give them some kudos, and that's all they need. You've just got different people with different needs. And when you realize that, sometimes leaders I'll see take it personal when people don't take on challenges, get to this level or sign up to many people or earn this reward or come to a team meeting, and they're not, going along with these things that you've challenged them to do. And then they take that personal. But if we get to know people's motivational style, we really can fine-tune how you assist and help and mentor those people, okay? And then the last one is variety or consistency. And this can be a pro or con, going both directions. First of all, the person who needs variety, that person cannot have a specific set schedule or only one way of finding new customers or one way to use the oils. They love that idea of, cooking with the oils and massaging with the oils and postpartum and, all the different ways you can use them. That person is just eating up that information. And the consistency person usually likes to probably learn a couple different ways, be really good at it. They like their day to look the same. Whereas a variety person wants to one day be making a flyer, the next day be talking to people. And what you do is just teach them how to schedule based on their personality. Say, look, just because you like to do different things, like I'll see people that are variety people kind of beat themselves up and say that they are flaky and those kind of things, which they're not. They just crave variety. So you teach them to put in their schedule, okay, what do you love about the business? What gets you excited? What's the variety part for you? What's the creative part? Whatever that is, make sure it's put in their schedule. But the busy work that isn't always fun, that maybe there's 1 2-hour block in the week that they chunk out that stuff and get it done so they can do more of the variety stuff. Like you help them become self-aware and then be deliberate about putting those kind of things in their schedule. Now, the person who's consistency, that may be a person who might beat themselves up because they can come off rigid to those of us that have variety. And that's where you help them when there's a variety of activities that they need to do. You either help them set a schedule that every Tuesday they do the same thing, or they break it up into hour blocks and they have a similar routine every day, or you help them find a way where they feel like there's some consistency and balance and then see growth in that. So it takes some extra thinking on your part, but you'll have better retention, you'll have happier team members, and you'll have more people working versus losing part of them, especially if they don't have your same motivational style. So, Jordan, do you know what your 3 key answers are to those questions on motivational style?
Yeah, for me personally,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
Which one? What are your 3?
It's hard. The first one, it's hard because I'm kind of in between, like helping people and the money wise, but probably more towards making the extra money.
Mm-hmm.
And in a group,
You're one of the few people that I see like a real strong, almost 50-50 on that, but you do have really strong personal goals, financial goals. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
no, you're fine. And then in work or alone, that's another hard one because it depends. Like I love working in groups and everything and being around the people, but then so when it comes time to, messaging people and getting things ready for classes and all that kind of stuff, I like to be able to focus and do it one-on-one and do it my way and get it done kind of thing.
Right.
Variety or consistency, I'm open to variety, but I do like to be able to have more of a plan and have more time scheduled in what I do each week kind of thing.
Okay. So if you can see those different things, so think about this. This is where you're going to have to kind of find ways to get out of your comfort zone, okay? For the person who just loves to change the world and you're thinking about, okay, here's the kind of money you can make, here's the promotions you can get. You've got to be really careful not to talk about the things that motivate you when you know that that person, it's not their motivational style. Okay, that's a, without it sounding harsh, and they don't mean to. It's a mistake that team leaders make, is assuming that the reason they're in it and the perks that they personally get out of it, that's why everybody else would want to do it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And and nobody's doing that maliciously. I mean, they mean well. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you can make this money and this is so much fun and it feels so good when you accomplish these goals. And they're like, I just want to help people have oils for their baby or, whatever it might be. So making sure that you don't rub those off on other people, you'll come off like this really amazing, understanding leader. Okay. And it'll be cool because it'll benefit your goal and your reason of your titles and money. Okay. So you've got to hang on to that. It's like, if I learn to do this really well, it's going to get me closer to my whys and my real motivation for doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is where you're one-on-one. So that means group things aren't always fun. I'm a one-on-one too. Group things don't rock my boat. If I have a specific reason why I'm there, I definitely do a lot better. So your people that are work alone people, they need an assignment. They either need to share a success story. They need to, say you do it as a group. They need to be assigned to bring a snack. They need a reason to be there. The group people, they just need to know there's more than them there. They're more than happy to show up if it's a group thing. Okay, so thinking about that, when you're calling them, someone's a group person, you're trying to get them to have this conversation just with you. It's just different. They just love this feeding off a group, and for me, it's distracting. I can't think when there's 4 conversations going on. So it just depends on who you are. So you got to kind of find creative ways to help feed that part of them. The other thing to note is that in direct sales, 80% of people stay in direct sales because of relationships. And so that feeds some people's group motivation really heavily. Okay. Whereas me, I was driven by different things. It's like I like the people, I love the people, but it wasn't my main reason for sticking around. But it is for a huge percentage of people in direct sales. Okay. So you've got to find ways to foster that even though you're a one-on-one person. Okay. And then where you talked about that your consistency. So the variety person is going to sort of drive you crazy at times. And you've just got to take a deep breath and try to remember that, this is what they need to do, and give them options for how they can put variety in their life. Rather, it's new ways to learn how to use the oils, new ways to find people, changing up their schedule. One day they make phone calls, another day they practice with their oils, another day they do a class. You've got to encourage them in ways that you would never work, okay? Because you're a consistency person, that isn't how you would do it, okay? So knowing that and giving people ideas based on their style, you'll be amazed what happens in the things that you're able to support them in without them just feeling crazy. Like, why doesn't, and it's kind of subconscious, they'll kind of feel like, why doesn't she understand me? And it's not that you do and you don't care. It's that you just have different reasons for doing things. And you can kind of learn how to become a chameleon and talk their language. And it's not lying or faking. It's just understanding that the two of you have different reasons for doing things. Does that help? So what I want you to do is think about 3 of your team members, and we'll talk. Don't tell me any names because this is recorded. But I want you to think about some team members, and let's kind of brainstorm about what we think their motivational style is, and help you kind of figure out some ways to talk to them. Okay?
Okay. I might need to set aside time to really ask them those questions, ask them those 3 key questions on, where they are, groups.
Yeah. Kind of thing. And I give you that assignment to ask them those questions. But if you stop and think about them, we might be able to kind of discuss based on what you've seen from them.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a guess as to which they are. Okay. So if you just pick one, you can pick one person for me, and think about it, which do they talk more about? Do they talk more about how they're excited to help other people have the oils, or are they excited about the kind of money they're going to make?
I feel like they're excited to share what they found and how it's helped them so much.
Mm-hmm.
Their main reason to share them with everybody else is because they are getting rewarded by money. So I
Oh,
think I feel like more, I guess, money side then.
okay. That's interesting. Yeah, titles and stuff. It'll be fun for you to talk to them and ask them and see what they say. That's cool. Okay. So you want to be making sure that you're following up. If they're trying to hit a specific level by the end of the month period or something like that, they're going to want you standing right by their side and walking them through that and helping them get to that and celebrate it after.
Okay.
Okay? Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to make a big deal out of them, and that's going to totally motivate them to keep going. Okay? You put in your own little kudos. I mean, the company does, but whether you just send them a note or you have a team meeting online and you celebrate them and let them hear you recognize them in front of other people, or there's different ways to do it. So what do you think they are? Do you think they like to work in a group, or do you think they like to work one-on-one? Or you're probably muted and working with kids.
Yeah. I think probably, well, so far I've really just worked with them mainly one-on-one in like their
Mhm.
weekly calls and everything. So I'm not too sure on that one.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, and some of these you're gonna find out. Do you think they seem to like variety or consistency?
To be honest, I'm not sure. Maybe consistency, but I don't know if that's just because that's how I think.
Well, think about like if is there a specific time that you call them, like every week, or do you have like a pattern for supporting them?
Yeah, but yeah, usually the one on, call each week, but usually it has to change because of both of us having little ones and stuff like that. So it isn't very consistent, I guess.
So does she roll with that and that's totally okay, or does she ever act annoyed because she wants it to be similar every week?
I think we've just been able to roll with it.
Okay, so there's a chance, I'm just brainstorming, okay, so it doesn't matter if I'm right or not or anything. So there's a
Really,
chance
yeah.
that she's a variety person because she rolls with that well. Consistency people don't always roll with that very well. Not that it's a good or bad thing, it's just a way to understand them. Does that make sense? Okay, so moving on from there, one of the things that is really powerful is if you take the time and you ask your people these questions. Okay, get to know them, and if let me kind of remind you about a couple of ways that I explain it. The first one with money and titles or changing the world, I always remind them that the Mother Teresa's need the Donald Trump to donate money. That just because you're a money and titles person doesn't mean that you're not a generous person or that you're worldly or selfish or anything like that. It just means that that's what rocks your boat, and that's the primary motivator for you. Okay. The other one with consistency and variety is, do you like to get up in the morning and you go through this routine and do the same thing every day, or are you okay with it changing up? And then your groups are one-on-one. I joke with people, would you rather turn on the music and everybody in your house, you and your kids and hubby each has a different job, you get it all done together and it's this fun group thing, or is it just count out the assignments, make sure you get it done by this date? So sometimes we have to give them kind of some examples and clarification for them to get what we're asking, okay? When you find out those things, some of the things that I like to do is to then get an idea of where they're at right now and where they're needing some help. So one of the things is that People don't like to be reminded of their weaknesses, okay? They're fine with venting and telling you their problems, but they don't like it when somebody else does them. We can kind of follow up and show concern and see how they're doing. And so that's what we're going to do. So when you know the reasons for signing up, especially if there's a true financial need or a physical need that they like the oils or those different kinds of things, um, we want to go back to their whys that they do things. And so what I like to do to get them to talk about their needs again is talk about, hey, if I'm remembering right, you stated a concern I had. One of the things that you thought this might be helpful, that you were really wanting a new car. Is that still something that you're wanting to do for your family? And, oh yeah, well, tell me about the car that you're hoping to get. Have you, been shopping yet? What are you thinking about? And give them the opportunity to talk about it. That raises their motivational level. And that's where you start to figure out how big their goals need to be. And based on how big their goals need to be, that's when you then put in and apply these ways to set goals based on a motivational style. So if you can kind of get an idea of how much money they want to make based on different goals or whys that they have in their business, then you connect that goal, whether it's help so many people or achieve a certain level or whatever it might be. That's where you start matching those things up. So some of the questions that I'll use, like I said, I'll kind of state and show that I listened and remembered what they talked about. But I don't want to go, hey, you talked about you really need some money for this, and you're really having this problem, and da-da-da. And, I want to help you with that. And we want them to talk about it. It just helps psychologically. So you can just ask, how is that going? Tell me more about what you were saying about the situation. How are you feeling about where it's at now? And based on those answers, you can ask, what is your plan? What do you plan to do next? Or how can I support you in that and help you get to where you want to be or make that change or accomplish that goal? Okay. It's really fun to see what happens. People love to talk about themselves. It's just kind of a natural human thing. So asking them those things is important. So one of the things that I'd like you to do for a second is, if you're thinking about a team member too, that you feel like you can kind of take a good guess as to what their motivational styles might be, I want you to write down what are the things that you need to go back to and have them talk more about. And then based on their motivational style, where will you lead the conversation? What will you encourage them to do? How will you suggest that they make goals? So tell me if you're not wrestling kids. If you can chat. If you can't, it's okay.
I'm wrestling them right now, getting them changed and getting them down for breakfast.
Okay.
I
All
can
right.
hear, but
Well, and we can even role play this later if you want to, Jordan. But just wanted to help you walk you through those steps, because sometimes we go to do it later and we're like, oh, how'd you say how to do that? Okay. So when you get these printed out and as you're thinking about your team members, if you want to text me or call me, I have some time today, we could chat. And, especially like at nap time or stuff if you'd like to. But it's really amazing how you can help your team members by talking about what's important to them. So here's an example. If I call my gal, who is the writer, first I want to know how things are going with her book. How is that going? Because that's what she's excited about. She loves writing, and she doesn't always like the processes. And she does get a little bit nervous about those processes getting closer to actually getting the book published. But just asking her how she's feeling about things and the steps, asking her, what youth have read the book so far, what she's hoping to do. Even as she does overcome humps, like she made a phone call to see if she could do a book signing at a little bookstore in her town. And it just terrified her, but she did it. She learned a lot from it and knew what to do better next. And in fact, the gal that she called was so nice to her. And I was like, now when you call other places, here's a couple things you might want to say. And she totally learned this principle of how people look out for you and want to help you succeed. So it was really cool. So those are some kind of conversations that you can end up having with people when you reflect on these things and make sure you stay focused on their motivational styles, what they're going through, and what their whys are. And it's really, really rewarding to see people get over their own humps, to see people accomplish their goals, to see people focus on their whys, on their strengths, understand what can be a weakness. You know, if you're someone who's consistency, that being rigid can be a weakness, and you have to learn to kind of cope with that. Or if you're a group person and you need to be able to work a little more one-on-one, you know, how do you work around that? All these things, just being self-aware and helping to empower people is an amazing gift that you can give people. Okay, I know you're probably only half with me because you're wrestling kids, but do you have any questions or anything I can better clarify for you, Jordan?
No, that's good so far.
Okay.
It gives me some good ideas to talk with them in their weekly call this next day or two.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to let you go do your mom thing, and this will be recorded, so you can go back and listen to it later, but feel free to message me and let me know, you know, if you want to chat again before you start applying it, or if after you talk to a team member to, you know, come back and talk to me and go, okay, this part's going well, what can I do about this part? You know what I mean? I'm here to check in with you. So let me know how I can assist you, alrighty?
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. You have a really fabulous day and welcome home, and I'm so glad you had a fun vacation.